Before dawn broke, the farm would wake up. All around it was still dark, the sky filled with twinkling stars. Dew settled on the grass. The most dependable sound of that silent morning was the rhythm of Biru, the horse's footsteps. A strong body, a broad chest, and eyes full of deep endurance. Year after year he had carried out the hardest work on the farm. Pulling plows, pushing heavy carts, standing in the fields through sun and rain. This was his everyday life. Biru never complained. When other animals panted from exhaustion, he clenched his teeth and kept working. But over time, fatigue began to pile up inside his body. Even at night, lying down, his muscles seemed unable to find rest. Still, he said nothing to anyone because he believed work was his identity. Work was his worth. That morning began like any other. Before the sun rose, he was already in the fields. Noon passed into afternoon, but the work did not stop. The sun's heat poured down like fire from above, and the earth seemed heavier than before. Biru's breathing grew labored, his chest pounding, yet he did not stop. At last, when the sun dipped red toward the horizon, he finished his work and came to stand at one side of the farm. Soft light surrounded him, the air scented with dry hay. He took a deep breath and closed his eyes. For the first time, he felt that his body was no longer listening to him. Just then, the cat Mitu came and sat beside him. Mitu was the most curious creature on the farm. He loved knowing every piece of news, who said what, who thought what. Everything had to pass through him. Mitu looked at him and said, "You look very tired today, Biru." Biru smiled slightly, but that smile carried the mark of exhaustion. After a moment of silence, he said softly, "Yes, today my body feels completely worn out. If only I could work a little less tomorrow, that would be nice." There was no rebellion in these words, no anger toward the master. There was only a small wish for rest, a tired heart's quiet request. Mitu said nothing, but a strange glimmer appeared in his eyes. He jumped up and went away. When the farm slowly fell silent that night, Mitu went and stood beside the cow Kailu. Kailu was gentle by nature, but he loved listening to stories. Mitu whispered, "You know, today Biru was saying that he can't stay here anymore. It seems the master is too strict." Kailu looked surprised. After thinking for a moment, he said, "Then that's serious. He hasn't said anything all this time." These words kept turning in Kailu's mind. The next morning, when he met the goat Champa, he exaggerated it a little and said, "Biru is in a lot of trouble. Too much work, too little food. He's even thinking of leaving this place." Champa was naturally timid. Hearing this, her heart began to race. She thought, if Biru leaves, what will happen to the farm? She ran to the rabbit Jilly. In an anxious voice, Champa said, "Listen, Biru is planning a rebellion. The master is being very cruel to him." Jilly was small, and fear easily filled her heart. She didn't try to verify anything. She ran straight to the master's servant. Panting, Jilly said, "Biru the horse is planning to run away to another farm with all the animals." The servant's face turned pale. Without delay, he went and told the master everything. But now the story was no longer just a story. Fear, suspicion, and imagination were added to it. Hearing this, the master exploded with rage. He thought the one he had trusted all this time was a traitor. He didn't think for a moment about what the truth was, what Biru actually said. No questions, no verification, only anger and decision. That very night, under the moonlight of the silent farm, Biru stood alone. He had no idea how his innocent words had taken such a terrifying shape. He only looked up at the sky and took a deep breath, thinking to himself, maybe tomorrow he could work a little less. But tomorrow never came for him. Everything ended very quickly. The next morning, the farm was unnaturally quiet. There was no sound of heavy footsteps in the fields anymore. The plow lay to one side. Work had stopped. The The air carried only the weight of emptiness. Biru was gone. But what remained was a terrible truth, how the innocent words of a tired heart can slowly become distorted and turn into death. Story moral: it is not safe to share your deepest thoughts with everyone. When a simple word falls into the wrong hands, it can become a weapon against you. The farther words travel, the more they change, and in the end, truth disappears, leaving only misunderstanding. How it impacts our lives: the same thing happens in our lives. When we share our weaknesses, struggles, or plans with everyone, not everyone understands them the same way. Some misinterpret, some exaggerate, and some use them for their own benefit. This damages relationships, breaks trust, and can even push life-changing decisions in the wrong direction. My advice: do not trust everyone, but do not distrust everyone either. Be wise. Share your heart, but with the right people. Not every feeling needs to be expressed. Some feelings are safer in silence. Remember, silence is sometimes strength, and careless words are sometimes destruction.